Yes! Hello, my beautiful friends. What an amazing day it is today, and welcome back. We got some serious business to unpack ahead. We're going to go through subpoenas that have now been launched, and we're excited about this because we've got like 10 of them that we're going to take a look at, and it is involving a bunch of individuals. And so we're going to go through it in detail as soon as we fix this little situation over here. Boom, and we're back. You can see this is what we're getting into. Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, Garland, Comey, Barr, Gonzalez, Sessions, Mueller, Lynch, and Holder all getting hauled into Congress. And so we got the documents queued up here. We're excited about it. The Oversight Committee came, dropped this down. We've got the actual subpoena, which is going, this one is to Pam Bondi. And she, of course, is going to be demanded to turn over some Epstein files and send those over in due time. We've also got a bunch of the cover letters that we'll go through. So you can see 33 pages going to everybody. Bill's on there. Hillary's on there. Loretta Lynch is on there. And we'll go through it all. Then there's a roundup of these other stories. Oh, yeah, I forgot. Comey was out yesterday, too. Comey has a Substack. And so he's making these weird videos where he's just reading from a script. We'll go through it a little bit and listen to some of him. But we got reports from Real Clear Politics saying the FBI is now digging into the Mar-a-Lago raid. The new FBI is digging into the old FBI. And so we'll see what the latest is. We've got a bunch of reaction. Rep. Anna Paulina Luna's excited about it. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Tim Burchett, many others all weighing in on this. Then we got filing updates in the Maxwell case and the Epstein case because this one is curious. And some time ago, we were contemplating kind of gaming out what this would look like and whether Ghislaine Maxwell would object to the request to unseal the grand jury transcripts. And she has now done that. You can see that this is the filing right here. It's Maxwell's response in opposition to the motion to unseal. And we were gaming this out. We were saying if she objects, it's because she wants to be the keymaster, the person who holds all of the information. She doesn't want anybody to go get it from any other sources, including grand jury transcripts. And so we'll go through it. Trump's DOJ also submitted some clarification to the judges. Remember, the judges said, can you let us know what the victims say about this? And do you want the exhibits or just the transcripts? Like, do you want the pictures? What do you want here? And we'll go through it. Of course, doesn't look like they want the exhibits, just as we predicted. So we'll go through it. We got also, there was a stipulation. Remember, Trump sued the Wall Street Journal and Rupert Murdoch, and they entered into an agreement. It's a stipulation saying that they're not going to do their depositions anytime soon, so they'll postpone it. Rupert Murdoch is apparently on the verge of death. And we'll go through all that. So it's going to be a beautiful day, my friends, and I'm very glad that you're with us. We had a great members only stream this morning over on Locals and on YouTube, and we'll be doing an after party today. So if you want to join us, come and join us as a member. We do members only streams in the morning. We do Saturday streams. We have an amazing community, and we were able to get into some other stuff, you know, in the member streams that we can't cover here because there's just not enough time. We'd love to have you come join us. You can join up on YouTube, join up on Locals. We'll see you in the after party and tomorrow on the Wednesday members only morning stream. Thanks. And it's a great way to support the show. So thank you for doing that. All right. So now let's get into business on the day. And this is where we are starting. Subpoenas now going out from James Comer and the Oversight Committee. And the people on the receiving end of these subpoenas are numerous, and the names are glorious. We've got Secretary of State, former Hillary Clinton, who was never the president. Oh, that must sting. Former Secretary of State. Oh, brutal. So she's getting a subpoena, and she's got to come in on October 9th. Now, we're going to go through all of the subpoenas, and I'm going to show you a new tool that we're going to be using to keep all of this organized and accessible and transparent. But we've got Clinton, Hillary, Clinton, Bill getting one. Merrick Garland, James Comey, FBI, Bill Barr, Trump's U.S. Attorney General, ran the Justice Department there. Alberto Gonzales, who is Bush's Attorney General, who was running things when Acosta was the individual who did the original plea deal with Epstein. We got Mueller, Loretta Lynch. You remember Robert Mueller, the Mueller report, Loretta Lynch, the Obama attorney general, and Eric Holder, Obama's attorney general, all getting subpoenas for different dates and times. And so there's going to be a lot happening in this case. Now, what was curious about this, I thought this was interesting. I was expecting a lot of these people to be subpoenaed, not for the Epstein stuff per se, but for the Obama coup. Okay, like they could all be subpoenaed for a bunch of different reasons, including Crossfire Hurricane and the Trump-Russia collusion hoax and all the criminality that they engaged in for that. But that's not what this is about. This is about Epstein. And it's curious because this is where they're starting in Congress. And here's what the Oversight Committee said. All right, here's the background. Comer now sends these subpoenas to Bill and Hillary and former U.S. attorneys, FBI directors, and everything, all related to Epstein. And I think this is an interesting strategy. We know that Trump and the Trump administration doesn't want to talk about it. I mean, they have made that pretty dang obvious to everybody. But the Democrats will, and they're going to continue to until either Trump leaves office or until they get some sort of power, because that's all this is about for them, really, is just a political tool. They didn't care about Epstein at all. In fact, remember when Acosta, the former prosecutor, when he was coming through for confirmation hearings, they all voted him in. He got approved. Democrats, too, voted for him because he's a lifer institutionalist, right, until the Epstein situation blew up again. So what we're seeing here out of Congress, I think, is, a decent strategy. If the Democrats are not going to let it go, what do? You agree and amplify. Oh, you want to release the Epstein files, do you? Perfect. You know who knows a lot about those? Bill Clinton, who was on the airplane all the time, as we know, like door dashing back and forth to the island. Ugh. So sure, we'll request the records, and we'll start with Bill and Hillary. So House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform Chairman James Comer today issued deposition subpoenas to Bill and Hillary Clinton, James Comey, Loretta Lynch, you know the names. All of them for testimony related to the Jeffrey Epstein crimes. Now, additionally, Comer also issued a subpoena to Pam Bondi and the DOJ for the Epstein records. These subpoenas follow recent action by Oversight, which approved motions to subpoena these records and to compel witness testimony. Now, on July 23rd, not long ago, weeks ago, Republicans and Democrats on the Federal Law Enforcement Committee approved a motion by Scott Perry, a representative out of Pennsylvania, to approve these subpoenas, and we have now done that. Now, the subcommittee also responded to an amended motion by a Democrat, okay? Representative Summer Lee's a Democrat out of Pennsylvania, so she's on it too, and they voted by a vote of 8-2. Democrats on board to subpoena the DOJ to release the records related to Epstein. Andy Biggs and his amendment from Arizona, he's running for governor here, shout out to Andy Biggs, says to include the release of all communications between Biden and the Biden officials and the DOJ related to Epstein. That was all adopted by voice vote as well. Nancy Mace also had an amendment redacting the names of the victims and any information. Yes, got it. And we can take a look at all of them, and we will. Now, to keep this all in order and to keep track of everything that's going to be happening here with all these subpoenas and all of the Obama coup, Crossfire Hurricane investigations, we know there was a grand jury that was impaneled as well. Something we've been working on, and this is still very much under construction on our members only streams, is this new project. It's called watcherfiles.com. And I'm pretty excited about finding this tool and getting our files nice and organized. And what you can see is when you go to this, watcherfiles.com, you'll see a big compendium of information that we have been assembling over here, utilizing some deep research tools and assembling a mind map that connects this all together. So when you go there, you can see today, I just added a couple things. Epstein subpoenas are all here on this page. And it's the James Comer email. It is all of the documents listed here. But what's so powerful about this tool that's going to help us, I think, piece all this together is this interactive graph that's up here. And you can see when you zoom in on this, it's like a mind map. We used to be big mind map users here. But the problem with the mind maps is that there's only so many layers that you can get into. And so you can see here this is showing you all of the relations between all of the people who just got subpoenas, basically. So everybody who's linked on this page, Sessions, Garland, Eric Holder, Alberto Gonzalez, Hillary Clinton, they're all here. And this is just the local mind map, right? This is the local one. Now, when you start to really assemble all of the data, let me show you the full mind map. It looks like this, okay? And so this is what we've been working on, and I'm constantly adding to this, but you can see we're going to be able to connect the dots bigly. And there's ways to filter all of this so it's a lot less confusing. But for example, here's Lisa Page. She's the one who was one of the FBI lovers. You can see everybody who she's connected to and how all this worked out. And what's great about this is when you actually are clicking on the people, for example, we forget who Jeff Sessions is, right? Well, you just click here and you've got all of the information organized. This is all courtesy of deep research. We've got a little table of contents over here. And so it goes in depth. And I'm excited about this because we can start to see how the relationships work. So if you want to follow along, you can check it out, watcherfiles.com, all accessible, super fast, goes pretty well on mobile. We got a bunch of pages built out. We're going to continue to do that. So all of that is now there. If you want to check it out, watcherfiles.com, it's all available and free and all the things. So go check it out. Now, if you're curious and poking around, but we're going to keep track of all this because we got all of these depots coming out, okay, like multiple days. All of it needs to be organized and traceable to these criminals. We're going to do it. So here is the subpoena that went over to Pamela J. Bondi. It says, all right, Pam, we need some records and we want you to produce the following list of materials to us by August 19th. At 12 p.m. noon. It's not about a deposition. It's not going to be testifying at a hearing. It's just give us some documents. And what documents do we want? Here we go. In accordance with the schedule of instructions to you, Pam, you are now required by Congress to produce the following documents and communications that are in your possession, custody, or control in the unredacted form, except you can redact some things that are personal information and of course, any CSAM material, and follow the DOJ manual. And this is curious, okay, because we've been asking about this. We've had this question about, well, what is the universe of all the potential documents? And the grand jury transcripts are just a tiny little sliver, a little hair pricked out of the Epstein hair. Oh, here you go. Here's a bit of information for you, America. Have some. Well, okay, we want a little bit more than that. Can we get the exhibits at least? No. All right. Can we get any? No. Stop talking about it, you weaklings, and move on. And now what they're asking for is the entire case file. So it's not just a little sliver of grand jury stuff. It's not the exhibits. It's the whole thing, because there's a bunch of stuff in a case file that is never even presented to the grand jury. So they say, all right, here's what we want. All documents and communications relating or referring to Epstein or Maxwell and further relating or referring to trafficking, exploitation, or anything. Okay, that's like broad, man. Any emails that have their names, we want it. All documents and communications contained within the case file in the Epstein case. All documents and communications in the Maxwell case. All documents and communications that came out of the 2007 non-prosecution agreement between the U.S. attorney in Florida and Epstein. And that was Acosta. That was the U.S. attorney who gave him, we thought, was going to be a 60-count indictment that then got settled. And then, of course, Acosta came back down years later after he was running for a Department of Labor person, came out, defended himself, said, you're lucky we got anything out of Epstein. He wouldn't have done a day in jail if it wasn't for me, you ingrates. All documents and communications related to Epstein, Maxwell, and the investigation that resulted in the non-prosecution agreement in Florida. All documents and communications between the Executive Office of the Presidency and Joe Biden referencing Maxwell and the investigation of Epstein that resulted in the 2007 non-prosecution agreement. All documents and communications relating or referring to the death of Epstein. And in complying with the subpoena, Pam, you are required to produce all responsive documents and give them over. In the event that anything, the committee is going to receive electronic documents are fine. If you want to put them on a CD, we'll take it. If the subpoenaed information is only available on like a computer server or something, let us know. We'll come over. If you can't comply by August 19th, let us know. In the event that any document is withheld, give us a log, tell us why. In complying with this, make sure you let us know about your privileges. And If you think that you have stuff that is not in your possession anymore, let us know. If a date or descriptive detail is inaccurate, but you know the actual date, let us know. All documents shall be bait stamped sequentially and produced sequentially, which is it's kind of like an indexing in a library, so you know where the documents are. This subpoena is continuing in nature and applies to new information too. And we want 2 sets of documents, okay? So go to Kinko's and make 2 copies. Majority staff and minority staff get their copies. And once you're done, let us know that you've done a diligent search of everything. And this includes everything. When we say document, we mean everything. I want sticky notes, okay? We want everything. Did you scribble something on a napkin? Put it in there. Yeah, but it's like you put it in there. Everything. Emails, cables, bulletins, photographs, electronic, mechanical. This is a good list of stuff. It says here, the communication doesn't matter how it was sent, emails, text messages, and or are broadly. That's great. Because I was reading that. I'm like, well, was there an and in that first page? And there was, saying here, and, right? Or Miss Maxwell, and, so is it only going to be this and that? Or was it an or, so they can only give you that or the other one? Does it have to be multiple things connected together? All right, anyways, so they say, look, if it's going to be anything like that, you're to interpret it broadly. And the masculine includes the feminine as well. So don't get cute with this. Give us all the documents. So don't be like, well, it's Maxwell materials, but we were talking about a dude here. So it's like, well, it's a dude. Maxwell's a woman. So I guess we can't give anything there. Give it. The term person or persons means everybody, and relating to means everything. So give us the files. Now we've got all that. Then the cover sheets went out as well. And here is what these look like. Now, just as a little refresher here, we do have some of these people who we can refresh our recollection on what they look like and who they are. This was Alberto Gonzalez. You may remember him. He was the Attorney General under Bush, 2005 to 2007, born San Antonio, Texas, Mexican migrant, political career in Texas, did a lot of work under George Bush, legal architect of a lot of the post 9/11 stuff, torture memo, executive order, and so. Then he got appointed. U.S. attorneys were fired. He left. Now, as it relates to Epstein, he's under scrutiny because the case began when he was in charge. In fact, the FBI was investigating Epstein, and they thought that they were prepared to draft a 60-count indictment. Remember for this dude? 60-count indictment. And this is, the letter that they just got over from the oversight committee that we're reading now. All right, so we've got that. The 2008 deal has been criticized. It's been very lenient. Oversight committee's investigating him. They're all getting hit. So we'll see what he knows, if much of anything. But he got a letter, and here's what it sounds like, courtesy of the Oversight Committee. All right, here, Gonzalez. The subcommittee has voted to bring you in for a deposition and issue a subpoena on your booty. Now, your tenure as the Attorney General from 05 to 07 coincided when Epstein was being investigated. And in fact, they prepared a 60-count indictment of Epstein. Remember, we're wondering, they panel a grand jury? Because he was never charged. He took a plea deal before they could even get the grand jury off the ground. They settled the case and gave like a broad immunity provision for all of his co-conspirators. Weirdest thing ever. So why did this happen? Pursuant to this direction, we got a subpoena for you. Now, we'll read this first one, and they're probably all going to be copy and paste, a lot of copy and pasting going on, so we won't read every one in full. But on July 6, federal authorities arrested Epstein, 2019. He's dead like a month later. And 2 days later, an indictment was unsealed in the Southern District of New York. Trafficking and conspiracy. Now, according to the indictment, Epstein exploited and abused dozens of others, minors at his home in various locations. Now, the indictment said that he enticed girls as young as 14 to engage in acts in exchange for money. Not the first time he'd been investigated either. In fact, in 2008, he pled guilty in Florida state court to 2 prostitution offenses. And in exchange, he and his co-conspirators got immunity from federal prosecution that came out when you were the AG. On August 10th, while in federal custody, Epstein died. Yeah, yeah. The chief medical examiner ruled his death a suicide. Bill Barr came out too. Remember, Bill Barr was like doing pom-poms and like leg kicks. It's like suicide. Yeah, killed himself. Yeah, Bill Barr. The chief medical examiner of New York ruled the death a suicide. And then subsequently, they flipped out. They're like, oh, crap. Epstein's probably back on his island now, so we better go get someone else. So then they went after Maxwell and got her instead. So they got her for 20 years for abusing minors. Now, the facts and circumstances surrounding both these cases have received immense public interest and scrutiny. At the outset of the 119th Congress, the committee in 2025 sent a letter to the DOJ. We wanted a briefing back then in February. On May 8th, the task force sent another letter to the DOJ requesting the public release of the entirety of the files and a briefing. But then on July 17th, Trump posted on True Social. He said, I've asked Bondi to produce any and all pertinent grand jury testimony subject to court approval, which we're probably not going to get. So it's kind of meaningless. Okay, they'll give you something. No, you're not going to give us anything. On July 18th, in response to the president's direction, Bondi posted a motion on X. Our motion has been filed. Great. Well, and Maxwell, of course, filed her response, and she is objecting to it. So you can see here, she opposes the unsealing of anything because she is the keymaster. She has all of the information. And if you start giving it out in grand jury transcripts to the public at large, well, then what good is she? Her information has no more value. So, all right. So they're playing this little game of legal patty cake back and forth. Okay, Baker's man. On July 28th, Attorney General Bondi posted a statement from Todd Blanche. Blanche said, if Maxwell has information about anyone who has committed crimes, the FBI and the DOJ are going to hear what she has to say. Blanche said, this Department of Justice does not shy away from uncomfortable truths, nor from the responsibility to pursue justice wherever the facts may lead. Now, while the DOJ undertakes efforts to uncover and publicly disclose additional information, and we're also asking whether Todd Blanche and the DOJ will release the audio or the transcript of their interview with Maxwell, which I'm sure was recorded. So Congress is working, while Congress is working, saying we are going to conduct our oversight because we don't want trafficking to happen in our country. We specifically want to know how you've handled this. And this one's going to Bush's AG. So the committee may use the results of this investigation to inform legislative solutions to improve efforts to combat these types of people and crimes. You were the Attorney General when Epstein was under investigation and when the non-prosecution agreement was negotiated by the DOJ. And so you've got knowledge and we want to hear from you. And then, of course, the boilerplate language we see. We've got a lot of power to do this, Rule 10, so you better give us some information. Sincerely, your friend, James Comer. And this is really a nice letter. I mean, how many letters like this did we read from Congress that were going to J6 people? Remember Benny Thompson, his ridiculous letters, where he would just write like 17 pages? We would cover them. We'd read them. He wanted everything. He's like, I want to know what you had for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Please track your calories. Put it in here. I want to know what you ate. Please describe your bowel movements to me. And if you don't give us any of this, you're going to jail. That was Benny Thompson. And Liz Cheney. She was like, this is great. We love this. This is a nice letter in comparison to that. It's just like, hey, you're going to show up. We got questions for this. So get here soon. Now, another one went out to Lynch. And so it looks like a lot of this is basically copy and pasted. So we'll just hit the introductory paragraphs for the rest of the folks so we know who's getting these documents. And that was, we just read through Gonzalez. Now we've got Loretta Lynch. You remember her. One of Obama's AGs, 83rd Attorney General, the first African-American woman. Wow. And just so amazing, heroic, historic. And the tarmac meeting was obviously ridiculous. Remember when she met with Bill on a Phoenix airport tarmac just days before the FBI was going to come in here on anything? She met on the tarmac for 20 to 30 minutes. Lynch, her husband, and Bill Clinton. It's a good thing her husband was there. He's like, nah, I'm not letting you meet with him alone. Alone? On an airplane? No way, honey. No, babes, nothing's going to happen. No, I'm coming with you. I was like, all right, smart. So FBI agents were positioned to prevent others from boarding the plane. And it looks like it was organized through Secret Service contacts. So you remember all that. Also, remember Andrew McCabe, the disgraced FBI agent? sat down with Loretta Lynch and was giving her a briefing saying, hey, Loretta, we know that you're communicating with Amanda Rentera, who is the Hillary Clinton campaign aide. And she sat there stone cold. And he said, this was weird. She made things worse rather than actually addressing the conflict. Okay, so that's who we're talking about here. And she got a subpoena. And so that one went over to Gonzalez. And that's the wrong document. Let's go back over here. So this one went over to Lynch. All right, Loretta. We unanimously voted to bring your butt in here. During your tenure, the DOJ was litigating against victims of Jeffrey Epstein, who alleged that the department had violated their rights under the Crimes Act in negotiating this deal. And so since you were involved in that, right, the victims suing the government, you guys let us all down. You have a responsibility to investigate these crimes. You covered up for this dude for whatever reason. And now we want justice. So they sued. And of course, Loretta Lynch said, get out of here. Jeffrey Epstein's ours. Leave him alone. You're just losers anyways. So of course, we know the rest of the document, what that looks like, because it's copy and pasted much the same. We've also got Robert Mueller. You remember Robert Mueller. He was the fella behind the Mueller report, who was basically like a pre-Joe Biden demented individual. He came out, investigated Crossfire Hurricane, did a terrible job, was looking into Peter Strzok. John Durham came out and, of course, kind of investigated him. And John Durham was also pathetic. But they wasted a ton of time. And remember, Andrew Weissman, this guy right here, he was one of the chief prosecutors on the Mueller team. And what was so strange about this, from all these honorable people who were so just caring and trustworthy, why did they delete all of their evidence? Weissman, Mueller's top deputy at the time, according to critics, remember, accidentally wiped his phone because he's such an idiot. He can't remember his key code. His phone twice after entering incorrect passcodes. And it's not twice. You got to enter like 15 times. The pattern of accidents affected dozens of phones, meaning they destroyed evidence. Okay. That's who we're talking about. Now, he's getting a subpoena. This is for the Epstein stuff. And again, a lot of this stuff, I think, is these people are criminals and many times over, but maybe not actually criminals for the Epstein stuff. They were just kind of there for it. We'll see what they have to say about it. But this is the start of something big. I can feel it. So here, Mueller, guess what? During your tenure as the director of the FBI from 2001 to 2013, you investigated Epstein. Did you cover up for him too, Robert? Pursuant to this direction, please see the attached subpoena and get your butt over here, copy and pasted yet again, saying, we've got the power to do this. Sincerely, your friend Comer. So we got another one. Bill Barr. We remember Bill Barr. He was in the Trump administration. Remember this fella right here, who came out basically immediately and said that there was a suicide that occurred. And he also was very interesting. He also fired Jeffrey Berman. Remember that? Jeffrey Berman was the guy who was actually prosecuting Epstein. Now, when it came to the death, he said that he personally reviewed the surveillance footage, saying no one entered that area. But we talked about this recently. CBS News found that it actually doesn't provide a clear view of the video of the cell. So how could Bill Barr say that? Barr's quick conclusion that his death was suicide. Barr came out. It was a perfect storm. Unbelievable. It foreclosed a more thorough investigation into foul play. And he came out and just said, oh yeah, no, it's still suicide. So just shut up and move on. Hey, Bill, guess what? You're getting a subpoena. Your tenure as AG, that your second time, began in 2019. And it coincided with the prosecution of Epstein, as well as his eventual death while it was in your care. And it also coincided with the indictment of Maxwell, which stemmed from Epstein. And so, Barr, you're coming in. Next up, we've got this one. Bill Clinton. Oh, we're looking forward to this one because Bill was on the airplane a lot. And he's had a lot of connections. In fact, 28 times. This is over at watcherfiles.com if you want to read the full articles. And we're using some pretty cool deep research tools to put all this together. But Clinton's relationship with Epstein is one of the most damaging aspects of everything. Trump alleged that Clinton visited it 28 times, and even Epstein's pilot, remember Larry Vysotsky, the guy who testified in the Ghislaine Maxwell trial, he confirms that, yeah, Bill Clinton was all over there. He also got a neck massage from that woman in an airport. And there's also testimony that Clinton likes him young. Kevin Spacey talked about it. Clinton met with Loretta Lynch, covered up for Hillary Clinton, and was a key part of the orchestrator of the Trump-Russia collusion hoax. Bill Clinton has been around forever, and you can see how many people and things he's connected to. So he's getting a subpoena. All right, Bill, guess what? You know, by your own admission, you flew on Epstein's private plane 4 separate times, according to you, in 2002 and 2003. During one of these trips, you were even pictured getting a massage on his neck from one of Epstein's victims. Bill, it has been claimed that you pressured Vanity Fair not to publish sex trafficking allegations against your good friend Epstein, and there are conflicting reports about whether you ever visited his island. Now, you were also allegedly close to Maxwell, a co-conspirator, and you attended an intimate dinner with her in 2014. How intimate. 3 years after public reports about her involvement in Epstein's abuse of minors. Bill's like, oh, she seems nice. Abusing minors. She seems perfect for me. Let's set up a meeting. Pursuant to this direction, please see the subpoena. And Bill, you can answer all the questions about that right in front of Congress. How delicious. We know who Hillary is. She's getting another one, but she didn't get one yet. Now we've got Merrick Garland, and you remember who Garland is. Gosh, this guy was so feckless. He was Joe Biden's attorney general, never going to be on the Supreme Court, and he's sour about it. Then he handed everything off to Lisa Monaco, who was also terrible. She wielded significant influence over everything and probably was really running stuff around there. We know who was kind of wearing the pants in that relationship. And so Garland is getting a subpoena, and here's what his says. On July 23rd, we voted to bring your butt in here. During your tenure as AG from 21 to 25, this resulted, your DOJ, in the conviction of Maxwell for crimes linked to Epstein. And so because your DOJ prosecuted her, you've got some info and input on the files. And so therefore, you are now subpoenaed, Merrick. Come on in here and have a seat. So, I mean, the list is, these are massive people. Next, we got Attorney General Jeff Sessions. Golly, remember him? Jeff Sessions was riddled in scandal as soon as he came aboard. He was a judge. He got appointed as Attorney General, played a crucial role in the campaign. Trump nominated him. He squeaked through 52 to 47. Then Al Franken started screaming about the Russians and Sergei Kislyak and others. And then he recused himself. And once he recused himself from any of these cases, then the Deputy Attorney General, Rod Rosenstein, came in. And that was a Comey ally. And the rest is history. So all of this came, Rosenstein then appointed Robert Mueller, who we already saw got a subpoena. And so now he's getting questioned about this as about Epstein as well. So not even necessarily the Trump-Russia collusion stuff, which he was involved in, but now the Epstein stuff, because just they were there. And this is curious to see if this provides information in other avenues or in other investigations. But he's getting one. During your tenure as AG from 17 to 18, the DOJ was litigating against victims of Epstein, Jeff Sessions, saying that the DOJ violated their rights. They shouldn't have given him blanket immunity and all the co-conspirators without consulting with the victims. So how did this non-prosecution agreement get effectuated? And while you were AG, the department may have been engaging in an investigation of Epstein that led to his final arrest in 19. And so let us know what you know and get ready for your depo. Rest of it copy and pasted again from Comer. Now, James Comey. Oh, he's getting one too. Mr. 8647 walks on a beach all alone and just comes across seashells by the seashore. James Comey. now getting a subpoena. And this guy is just another one of the worst. And he was covering up for Hillary Clinton, Steele dossier, 8647. You know all about him. And he is now under congressional scrutiny. All right, James, we're issuing a subpoena for you. And there's not much information on that paragraph. So just, you got a subpoena. We'll see you there. And come ready to talk. Then, as we round out the letters, the cover sheets for these potential prospective co-conspirators, Hillary Clinton is next. Says on this, the subcommittee is voting to approve this. Your family, Hillary, appears to have had a close relationship with both Epstein and Ghislaine. For example, your husband is called Bill Clinton, and by his own admission, did you know this, Hillary? He flew on the private plane 4 times. What was that for, Hillary? In 2002 and 2003, on trips for your family's foundation. Yeah, right. The Clinton Foundation. During one of these trips, he was even pictures getting a massage from one of Epstein's victims. Has Hillary ever seen that? Well, she has now. Moreover, your husband was also allegedly close to Maxwell, while Maxwell's nephew worked for your presidential campaign. Wow, I didn't know that little nugget. Maxwell's nephew worked for Hillary and was hired by Hillary after you became the Secretary of State. Man, that's a good one right there. Times of Israel reported on that. So pursuant to this direction, Hillary, please see the subpoena, and we'll see you back here in Washington on October 9th, 2025. Can't wait for it. Now, we also got Eric Holder. You remember Eric Holder, too. He was Obama's so-called wingman. Remember this fellow right here? 82nd AG, self-described as Obama's wingman. Supposed to be kind of an impartial institution, but then he came in and started to just abandon DOJ independence. Deadly cover-up, fast and furious, targeted a bunch of people through the IRS, to let the Black Panthers go, and the guy was a mess. Then interference with Hillary Clinton's investigation, pardons for Mark Rich, and might face criminal consequences if the DOJ says he was a part of a conspiracy or set of crimes. So that's who that was. He's getting a subpoena. All right, you, Holder, were the AG from 09 to 15. Many victims of Epstein filed a lawsuit saying the DOJ violated their rights. And now we've got questions for you. And so Holder's getting one. And last but not least, this is Pam Bondi. They say, Pam, we sent you a subpoena. We want the full, complete, and unredacted Epstein files. And so send them over post haste. Sincerely, James Comer and the Oversight Committee. So lots coming out from them. James Comey is responding to this. Let's see. Did he post anything new over here on his Substack? Look at this. Here's what he writes. He's a senior fellow, former government person. He made a video yesterday.
Rested people think better. And it's not as hard as you may think.
That's here it is.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to my Substack. After last week's video, I'm guessing you spent 7 days laughing and chuckling and looking for healthy summer obsessions. Well done.
No, we didn't. These people are so weird. Look at this right here. He says, former government person, author, teacher, father, and grandfather, tall and really quite funny. All right. That's not funny. Anybody who says that I'm really quite funny is not that funny at all. You might even think that statement is funny. I'm really quite funny. Maybe for somebody who was actually not funny or funny, I don't know, but it doesn't apply to James Comey. So he makes a video. We lasted 10 seconds. I'm pretty happy about that. We also know that there are a bunch of other reports that are coming out about how bad the FBI was, speaking of Comey and all these people. So we've got the Epstein files, which are now getting dug into, but there's a bunch of other stuff and other crimes that are also happening as well. And we might have a criminal conspiracy that was emanating back from 2015, really, with the Obama-Hillary people, all the way up until the raid, even currently, because Brennan and Clapper are still out trying to cover up the conspiracy, which was the intent of the original conspiracy. So Real Clear Politics says, the FBI overseeing the investigation of Trump's handling of all this is also focusing on John Durham's investigation as well. The raid was investigated, Crossfire Hurricane, Brian Otten. You remember all these people. And so the names, it's the same names. It's the same set of names who are all getting subpoenaed. And so we see a bunch of Congress people very excited about this. Tim Burchett said, this deep state is very nervous right now. Hillary and Bill will be receiving subpoenas to testify on Epstein. Says, I'm confident, Tim Burchett says, I'm confident that GOP oversight will help shed light on the disgusting crimes committed against children. Thank you, Comer, for your leadership on this one. Marjorie Taylor Greene also came out today. She's excited. Epstein subpoena is issued, baby. The DOJ was also subpoenaed. It's time for the truth to be revealed to the American people. No more cover-ups, no more lies. The Epstein files is not a hoax. He was a convicted PDF file, and we demand to know the rich, powerful elites who approved of and participated in his evil ways. Why did no one stop him or save those girls? I'm determined to find out. From Marjorie Taylor Greene. And Anna Paulina Luna also posted saying, Bill and Hillary are going to be getting subpoenas. And we're looking forward to it. So just sharing the good news on it. And of course, all that is great. Even a Democrat, Representative Summer Lee, she's from Pennsylvania, says, we got the votes now. Justice has to apply to everybody, no matter how rich, how powerful, and connected they all are. So we're going to keep our eye on this one. Shout out to James Comer and the Oversight Committee for getting these subpoenas out. We've got a bunch of stuff that is being scheduled, bunch of dates, and we're going to keep it all organized. So if you want to follow along and access some of these files, check it out, watcherfiles.com. We got it all linked up there. And so peruse it at your leisure. And don't forget to check out this web of corruption that we're going to continue to unpack and connect the dots as we save America. All right, my friends, let's continue on because we have an objection that is happening now from Ghislaine. Maxwell responds, and she does not want those transcripts to be released. We know that there was a battle between the public and the courts and the DOJ and the American people about whether we should see what's inside the files. And so Todd Blanche and the Trump Justice Department sent in motions in both cases saying, can you unseal the records? Then the judges responded and they said, we got a lot of questions. What records do you mean specifically? Have the victims been contacted? And what is the status of your files? Can you tell us what's in there, what's not in there? Give us some details. And we've had a back and forth. We'll get up to speed on it. But the big news is that Maxwell is now opposing the unsealing. And we gamed this out, and I think it's actually smart from her to position to do it, because if there's useful material in the grand jury transcripts, if those get unsealed and the public is satiated, here you go, we found everything, all right, not much there, then maybe it dies down, everybody moves on, and Maxwell becomes less valuable. But she needs her testimony to matter. It needs to be something of consequence, and so she wants to be the only person with the keys, not the grand jury, Maxwell. So she's opposing it, and she wrote the following into the court. This is in the Southern District of New York, and we've been covering this one for a while. This is the Maxwell case. You see here, the judge on this one is Paul Engelmeyer, and there's been a bunch of activity on this. We'll get up to speed on it, but yesterday we covered Maxwell's lawyers switched up, and the government wanted to unseal all of this, right? This was the memo. We covered all of this before, and so Maxwell has finally responded as of today, saying, although the government did not oppose allowing the defense to review the material to assess whether we object or not, the court denied that request. Oh, that's interesting. So the court didn't even allow Maxwell's defense attorney to review the material before they released it. As a result, Maxwell is not even seeing anything. So she can't even make an informed position. So given that she's actively litigating her case and does not know what is in the record, she has no choice but to respectfully oppose the motion to unseal. Now she jumps right into it. You know, Jeffrey Epstein is dead, probably. Ghislaine Maxwell is not. Yet. And we hope it stays that way, but a lot of people have some nervous, are those cameras working over there at that minimum security prison? But she's not dead yet, as we know. So whatever interest the public may have in Epstein, the interest cannot justify a broad intrusion, says Maxwell, into the grand jury secrecy in a case where Maxwell's still alive. She still has legal options. And her due process rights remain, saying when Epstein died, prosecutors from New York pivoted and they made Maxwell the face of his crimes. She became the scapegoat and the only person the government could put on trial. That's not true at all. The only person that could, or the only person that would. She was convicted in a media firestorm of false reporting and mischaracterization of evidence. And to be fair to Ghislaine, which is kind of a weird thing to say, and we think she's a detestable, reprehensible person, of course. But the point is she responsible, Maxwell, for all of everything? Is she the one who really trafficked all of the kids to those other dudes who also abused the young people, the kids, the children? Or is it just very convenient for them to say that she is? And she's the only other co-conspirator, because remember, there were 4 named co-conspirators in Epstein's original plea deal who were in there by name. Their names are there. Nothing happened to them. So if the immunity deal doesn't actually apply, if it only applies to the district in Florida, how come those other 4 women were not prosecuted? Yeah, don't know. Well, we probably know why, because they know that it applies to them by name. So I think that there's some questions about this, but what they did and what Maureen Comey did, just like she did with Diddy, just like she was doing with Epstein, just like she did with Maxwell, was to just put a bow on it, just to wrap it up and just say, oh, it's everything. It's all fixed in this Ghislaine case and the whole thing's wrapped up. So we're not in favor of Maxwell being the scapegoat that justifies a total lack of justice, right? That doesn't make any sense at all. So to that extent, I would agree with that. Now, the evidence was pretty, I think, substantial at the trial. We listened to 4 victims all come out and testify. But now with her case pending before the Supreme Court, now the government seeks to unseal untested, hearsay-laden grand jury transcripts, which contain statements presented in secret and never challenged in an adversarial process, saying Maxwell has never been allowed to review those transcripts, even though the government did not oppose her recent request to do so. And so the government, which they should be able to review that, like they should absolutely be able to review that. How can they make an informed decision and take a position on it without reviewing it? The government seeks to unseal the grand jury transcripts. And by the way, like, how do they not even have those? I'm sure that they do have those. The defense, her prior attorneys have those in their files. Like, her prior attorneys in her criminal case did not review the grand jury transcripts. They've seen them. They're probably in the file somewhere. Citing historical interest. So, in other words, since I'm sure they've seen them at some point as part of the original trial and standard defense work, they are using this as a fake because. Now we want to see again, another set of files. Maybe, like, for example, they haven't seen the Epstein case. There you go. Yeah, so they've seen Maxwell's grand jury files, but not the Epstein files. And so now that's probably what she's doing. That's her fake because. I don't want, can I see the Epstein stuff? No, you can't. It's his case, not yours. I can see mine, but not his. Okay. Well, if I can't see his, then that's my excuse not to release anything. So let's see if they catch that nuance. Citing historical interest without regard for how that's going to impact Maxwell. Now, the memo cloaks itself in another case from Todd Blanche. But that case emphasized that disclosure requires careful judgment and the balancing test. Does the public and their curiosity matter? Grand jury secrecy is very important. And so does public concern and just curiosity outweigh that? Judge will say, of course not. Now, there is a tradition in the United States that's even older than our country that grand jury proceedings are secret. It's in the rules. There are certain exceptions for it. A lot of it's discretionary. But the case that the DOJ is citing is talking about discretion. And yeah, there are some exceptions, but one of these is justifying continued secrecy. And so Maxwell right now, she's before the Supreme Court. Epstein may be dead, but Maxwell's alive and she's litigating her case. She's preparing a habeas petition as we speak. So any disclosure of grand jury materials, even from Maxwell or Epstein's case, risks tainting the legal process by injecting sealed testimony into public debate. The reputational harm alone is irrevocable. And those allegations, if released in raw, would inevitably influence any future legal proceedings should Maxwell succeed in her post-conviction litigation. And she gets immunity like the other 4 women in Maxwell's original plea deal. The government's proposal to redact victim identifying information doesn't mitigate this. And so public curiosity, writes Maxwell, is insufficient when her interests are at stake. And I think the judges are they're gonna weigh on this, and I don't think we're going to get much of anything. These factors weigh heavily in favor of preserving the secrecy. And we were waiting, was she going to just take no position? Was she going to agree? Was that part of the deal? Maxwell will take no opposition and will move her to go hang out with Holmes. And they can crochet together. All right. But no, she's objecting now. So I don't know what that deal was, but this is not help. Like, this is objecting to Todd. Todd, she's objecting to you. Although the government's memorandum sets forth certain aspects and subject matters, Maxwell has never had an opportunity to review the entirety, of the grand jury materials in her case. So they got some of it, and it's hard to see, hard to remember what she got and what she didn't get. We wouldn't know that. The government provided a list to the court under seal of witnesses whose accounts were conveyed in the grand jury and a corresponding list noting which witnesses testified at trial. And that list has not been disclosed to us. The government's memo, however, acknowledges the law enforcement witnesses. So in other words, there are some people who presented at the grand jury who did not present at trial. They thought we didn't need them, or they weren't credible or something. What is that list? They said, well, we're not using them at trial, so you don't need that. The government's memo, however, acknowledges that the law enforcement witnesses who testified before the grand jury are alive. They remain active in FBI and NYPD roles. And so the government's memo also disclosed that many complaining witnesses are also alive. And so you can't release them. There's too many active people. There's too many alleged victims. And none of the cases cited by Todd support this. This other case is involving a grand jury proceeding against Julius and Ethel Rosenberg relating to conspiracy charges because they were providing secrets to the Soviets. In 1951, the Rosenbergs were tried, convicted, and they were sentenced to death. And they were executed in 1953. Damn! Man, that's when we had a country that didn't like traitors and actually did something about it. Imagine if we lived in that world. 1951, they were tried, convicted, sentenced to death, dead 2 years later as traitors. In 2015, upon a motion by a nonprofit, then they unsealed the records and they noted 65 years had passed and the testimony should be released. Now, it's noteworthy that Hellerstein refused to unseal any of this while he was alive and only did it after he was dead. Similar case in another situation. Talking about communism, Hiss maintained his innocence until his death. He said he was being prosecuted by Nixon because he was a communist. Then 50 years later, they unsealed them. But disclosure here, Maxwell's alive. You can only do it after she's dead. Don't give them another reason. Disclosure is being sought due to immense public interest in Jeffrey Epstein. It's not just public interest. It's public interest for a reason, because we doubt the efficacy of our justice system, of the FBI and the DOJ. The public interest, while understandable, is insufficient to warrant disclosure of grand jury The government frames its interest as historical. And by the way, the DOJ has done this. Okay, so the DOJ is not giving them like a good reason. We're not getting a real full-throated, full effort attempt by the DOJ. Because what they're saying is that they've done everything perfectly, appropriately. We investigated everything. In fact, even in their filings, they said, well, even though we think there's nothing there, the public thinks there's a there, and so we're just going to begrudgingly kind of come in and ask for an unsealing. But it's really like, what is the basis? What is the justification? It's public interest. It's basically curiosity. That's not a good reason. A better reason is that the DOJ and the FBI are corrupt, and transparency and sunlight are the best disinfectants in order to root out that corruption. But are you going to see that put in a DOJ brief? Your Honor, we have systemic concerns about this investigation, that the FBI is a disaster, and that the DOJ let this guy go and enabled pedophilia for a few decades. So that's why transparency is appropriate. That should be in there, but it would never be in there, obviously. So the default is instead public interest and whatever it is. And the judge goes, well, since you're not asking for a good reason, I'm not going to give it to you. Now, this other case is equally unavailing. In that case, they wanted to unseal a grand jury testimony of a congressman who had not been indicted and had waived any protection to secrecy by seeking disclosure on his own. And so we'll fast forward through that case, but they cite another case, and all of the cases they say are bad, okay? There is no precedent for unsealing grand jury transcripts in a case like Maxwell's. She's alive, the other people were dead, and so therefore don't unseal anything. Signed by David Oscar Marcus, who of course is Maxwell's attorney. Now, in addition to that, we also had a letter come in from Todd Blanche and the rest of the team over there, actually from Jay Clayton, who works over there in the Southern District of New York on behalf of Todd Blanche. They said, all right, judges, listen up. I know you wanted more information about what we want you to unseal. In particular, we asked for transcripts from these cases subject to the appropriate redactions. And we were asking, what does that mean? Grand jury materials, what does that mean? Does that mean transcripts? Does that mean exhibits? Does that mean photos? Does that mean videos? Does that mean notes, pleadings, filings, everything? What's in there? The court directed us. They said, well, I don't know what you're asking for. So can you give us some more information? And let us know if the victims are upset about it. We read through 2 victim letters yesterday, which were both very strange. Now, on July 31st, the court said you wanted additional information. You wanted the dates of the grand jury presentations. You wanted exhibits shown to grand jurors, whether we wanted them, stating the government moves to unseal exhibits as well as transcripts, and identifying with specificity what we want and more. And we also got more requests from you as well. And so here's what our response is. We're consolidating this into one response. First, at this time, the Trump DOJ and Todd Blanche has moved only to unseal the transcripts in these cases. That's it. And it's not going to be the Epstein 2007 cases, as far as we know. Of course, grand jury exhibits are not the only exhibits in these cases. A large number of the exhibits were already admitted at the Maxwell trial, which trial exhibits are subject to redactions and sealing, presumptively public documents. We saw a lot of the photos that were redacted. I mean, like the paintings, and there's redacted, like cylindrical devices, probably like, jars of liquids, stuff like that. It's all redacted. The public has an especially strong right of access to these things. And so we've already made those trial exhibits public. Okay. So they're saying a lot of this is already on a website that we made out available during the Maxwell trial. It was already out there. The government respectfully requests leave of the court to advise the court by August 8th of its position with respect to the exhibits. So we haven't decided on the exhibits yet. We'll let you know. Such timing will permit the government to consider with respect to its positions any redactions, and it will allow us to notify the victims, which are all due by the 5th. Now, second, the Epstein grand jury met on June 18th and July 2nd, 2019. Maxwell met on June 29th, July 8th, and March 29th. So important grand jury dates for those two cases. But notice, we're not talking about anything from 2005, 6, 7, nothing. All of that forgotten about. Third, the government has provided the court with all substantive exhibits from the grand jury presentation in both cases that we have in our possession. Okay, so, and they just got a subpoena for this stuff from Congress. So all of the things in their possession, Congress asked for that. So we'll see if they get it. The government respectfully submits under seal to the judge one additional grand jury exhibit from the Epstein case in its letter to the court, but that we did not have available at the time. Wonder what that is. Now, fourth, in connection with this letter, the government also submits to another judge under seal and ex parte a version of the Maxwell transcripts where there's information in the transcripts that is not, as far as the government is aware, already publicly available. As previewed in the government submission, many of the victims and witnesses testified at trial consistent with what they said in the grand jury. And so it's basically the same that we presented at trial, mostly the same. And so the enclosed annotated transcripts show that much of the information that was in the grand jury, with the exception of certain victims and witnesses, was also already made public at trial and has otherwise been publicly reported through public statements of victims and witnesses. So we know that it was basically this was the point of this whole op, was to sanitize it. Epstein was dead. You button up Maxwell. No one else gets prosecuted. And you say justice was done. Fifth, the substantive grand jury exhibits are not currently part of the public record. The government, however, is undertaking to identify for the court specific portions of the grand jury exhibits that are already in the public record. And so in doing so, the government is going to compare the exhibits against the voluminous public and sealed exhibits offered at the trial to see and civil litigation dockets to answer the question, is it already public? Because if it is, you don't have to unseal anything. The government requests leave of the court, so we'll respond to this. And second, the null pros, which is an invalidation of a prosecution. It's Latin for we're not going to prosecute you, declining or invalidating or nulling a prosecution that was filed in the Epstein case does not impact the disclosure. While the Supreme Court has noted in a different context that the court's jurisdiction ends when a null pros is entered, it did so in the context of entering judgments. Now, to the contrary, at least one other court explicitly held that a null pros does not deprive a court of the opportunity to determine whether to disclose grand jury minutes. Now, although there was no public trial of Epstein, the government is also prepared to do a similar analysis in the Epstein case if you want. Right, because we got no exhibits in the Epstein trial because he's dead, because we got no trial. So they ended and terminated the prosecution against him. So we didn't get any of those exhibits. Some of the Ghislaine stuff we definitely got, but not all of it. So regarding the government's approach to victims, the government has provided notice of unsealing to all but one of the victims. Still been unable to contact this person. With respect to the other victims who are not identified in the transcripts, but who have previously received this, we're going to alert them as well. And finally, in light of the government's ongoing efforts to ensure that the interests of the victims and other third parties are appropriately considered, it may be necessary to supplement this. And so we'll do that if necessary. So all of that is coming in to the court. And this is the Epstein case. Let's see if the judge had any updates here. Victim rights. And we're caught up on the Epstein stuff. Now, simultaneous to this, we have another battle brewing. Remember, Trump sued the Wall Street Journal and Rupert Murdoch, and he said, I didn't send a pubic hair letter to Jeffrey Epstein, okay? You sick, weird freaks. And don't print that garbage in the media. Well, they did anyways, and Trump sued him. They were getting scheduled for depositions, but looks like those are being postponed. What we have here is a stipulation, an agreement between the both sides. Of course, this is President Trump suing Rupert Murdoch. And now this is being filed. They say, all right, we now, and there was a race in this case, which I forgot to mention. They wanted Rupert Murdoch to be deposed like yesterday because he's like on the verge of death, apparently. Like, well, drag him in here. Oh, in the hospital? No, we'll come to that. Well, it's fine. We'll come there. Can he talk? Great. So here, until the motion to dismiss is adjudicated, the parties agree that we are entering into this stipulation, and we are agreeing, Trump agrees, that he is going to abate his pending motion to compel the deposition of Murdoch. Until their motion to dismiss is adjudicated, we're not going to engage in discovery, but we are going to exchange initial disclosures. And we're going to see if they try to settle this thing out or what. But it will be postponed, signed by Alejandro and George for both sides in this matter. So keep our eye on that one, see what's happening. But Maxwell, of course, as we know, got moved to minimum security prison, where they have crochet kits now. And even the other prisoners, the other felonious women, are disgusted by her. Like, ugh. She's disgusting. So the new prison pals are disgusted that she just got moved over to Club Fed. They're like, those are our crochet kits. The convicted offender was moved from Florida to minimum security. Julie Howell, she's there. She's serving 12 months. Julie Howell apparently is, Theranos is there too. Oh, wow. Look at these ladies. What a nice outing in prison. Man. How often do they get gym time? Doesn't look like that much. Do they get to go outside like once a month or something? Because that's what it looks like. But that does look nice. I mean, she's got like a Fitbit on and some headphones. They've got headphones on. She's doing a lunge, which is great. Lunges are good. Lunges are very good. But yeah, anyway, so I don't know if they're on a program or what, but they should modify it. All right, so they're out, and her new prison, like Elizabeth Holmes, she's like, I cannot believe Ghislaine is here. Says minimum security camps are known to be low security, and it's one of the best prisons anyone could go to. It looks nice. It looks pretty. They got headphones and iPods and all sorts of things. But if someone is a cooperating witness, they can go. Maxwell is set to be out of custody in 2037. And people are not happy that she has been moved over there. So this woman is called Julie something or other. She got arrested. This woman right here. Julie Howell, serving a 1-year sentence. She's like, I can't believe I'm in here with this disgusting woman. And it's a curious situation that's happening. Now, what's also interesting is that Hunter Biden and others are talking about this fake lie that Epstein set Trump and Melania up, and scandalous lie. But now the Daily Beast has to retract the story, which is obviously not true. The Daily Beast retracted a story from last week, which alleged First Lady Trump, Melania, was very involved with Epstein. Now, this came out from this other so-called biographer called Michael Wolff, who said during a Saturday podcast interview that Melania was closely associated with Epstein and met Trump in 1998 through ID Models founder Paolo Zampoli, who had ties to Epstein and Maxwell. After publishing the story, Melania's attorney sent a letter over to the Daily Beast saying this is not accurate at all. After the story was published, the Beast received a letter from Melania's attorney challenging the headline and the framing of the article. After reviewing the matter, the Beast has taken down the article and apologizes for any confusion or misunderstanding. It said Melania Trump was very involved with Epstein, and it's all on YouTube still. Wolf accused Melania of knowing Epstein very well. It's still up on YouTube. Scandalous liars. Trump suing, and Congress now demanding answers on it. And so we'll keep our eye on the Epstein stuff, and we're building out the Epstein files over at watcherfiles.com. And of course, you can check it out as this develops. So all of it's happening here, my friends, and we'll keep our eye on this. Thank you for subscribing and joining as we do. All right. Well, what a beautiful stream it has been, my friends. And so if you're just joining us, quick recap on some of what we covered today. We had subpoenas that went out to all of the people here on the screen, and we're excited to see what comes next. And we read through them. We read through the cover letters to each of them. We looked at their profiles and their backgrounds over at watcherfiles.com. And we know that there's going to be a series of dates coming soon that we'll keep our eye on. Starting September 2nd, August 18th. Looks like Bill Barr is going to be first up. So we got Bill Barr, Gonzalez, and Sessions, it looks like. So they're going to knock out, so the strategy is they're going to knock out the AGs, and they're going to save Clinton and Bill for last. They're all AGs, basically, plus Comey. So Barr, Gonzalez, Sessions. Then we'll go Mueller, Lynch, Eric Holder. So all AGs, all attorneys general. Then Garland will pick it back up on October 2nd. Then Comey comes out on the 7th. Then it's to Hillary and to Bill. Man, it's going to be great. I'm excited for these 3 months. It's going to be a good quarter. So we're going to have some good stuff to get to. We're excited about it. He is now objecting to the release of the files, and Todd Blanche and the DOJ, honestly, don't seem like they're fighting all that hard, but we'll keep our eye on it. But now, my friends, it's time to hear from you and see what you say about all of this. Thank you for being here. Thanks for subscribing to our channel. And thanks for joining us. Membo, stick around. We're going to do an after party. And so we'll debrief a little bit and see what you have to say about all of this. But I saw some great donos come in. And so thank you for sending these in. Yeah. Whoa. Lots of membos in the house. Yeah. So, yeah. Okay. So some comments about, so the tool that we're using is, yeah. Okay. This is great. So this was from this morning, I believe. Let's see where we're at. Was that from this morning? Yeah, the Rubos were here from this morning, and we saw that one. Man, so awesome. Chat with me. Thank you for that. Shout out to the Rubos. Hey, be offended is here. Yeah, from Matt Gates. Yeah, just be offended. I don't care. Just be offended. Whatever. Hey, Bucky's is Rome. Says, you know how many times I get raked over the coals for not voting? My answer was always the same. Republicans haven't given me reason to waste my time casting a vote for them. Why Soros donated over $1 million to this Republican organization? Why? What he did? A conservative watchdog is calling for a Republican organization that took $1 million to sever its relationship. Oh, it's the International Republican Institute, because that's a deep state organization. That's why. That's the same thing that Lindsey Graham and John Cornyn, they're all huge fans of that. They all wanted all that money to go back for it's the Democrats' USAID. That's why. Because Soros wants to buy off the Grahams and the Cornyns. Bucky's is Rome. The word on X is that it was Big Balls. Oh man, Big Balls got hurt last night. That's terrible. Somebody from DOJ was very badly hurt last night, said Trump. A young man who was beat up by a bunch of thugs in D.C. Either they're going to straighten their act out or they're going to federalize D.C. and run it the way it's supposed to be run, said Trump. Shout out. Hey, Sheila the Pooh. 1 million hugs to you. Great to see you, Sheila. Thank you for bringing in new Membo friends who we'll see in our after party very shortly. What's up, Sheila Pooh? Thank you for bringing them in. 2 tragedies in life. Rafael Valenzuela. What's up, Mr. Denny Bacon? We got Conductor Cam on. What's up, Beautifully Inappropriate? LA for WA. What's up, Big Olg? Miss B, Weather Cat, and Debbie Y. What's up? Thank you for coming in here, courtesy of Sheila Pooh. 1 million hugs to you. Thank you, Sheila. And welcome, new friends. Hey, what's going on? Chad Brummett. Number 1 in the chat. Says here, strategically, isn't it better to get the smoking gun docs? Keep them secret from those subpoenaed and ask questions with those documents behind the questions. Yeah. I mean, so I think that's what they're going to do. Yeah. So the sequence would be, you want to get all the files from Bondi. She got a depo. She sends everything over. Hopefully they get those in time. And I think they even demanded those come from her quickly, right? So August 19th, then the interviews are going to start. Well, they're not going to have them before the 18th, I guess. So Pam better get those files over there. Bill Barr's coming in on the 18th, and they sent the files in. It's like, oh my gosh. You got to get the files first. Hello. All right. So, yeah, ordinarily you want to get the files and then ask questions based on the files. I think would be good. Yeah. But hey, Chad, thank you for the nice dono. You want the docs, then they can come in. Guillotine Builder says your mic is scratching a bit, just so you know. Are you guys hearing some mic squeaks? I'll have to listen after the show. But thank you, Guillotine Builder, for the heads up. We appreciate the tech support. What's up, Chad Brummett? Saying Hillary did all this to distract her from having deleted emails is a win for her. No, she did this to cover up what was in those emails, which is why she risked so much deleting them. 100%, yeah. It was worth it. Like, she knew what she was doing was so bad. They had to delete those 33,000 emails. And like with a cloth? No, like with hammers and bleach bit and devices meant to eliminate data from recovery. Yeah, like that. It was a treasure trove of criminality. So she just nuked it. She's like, man. And we saw that in the testimony from Leonard Bernardo in the Durham Annex that said that Hillary was facilitating the Clinton plan and that the campaign was very confident that nothing bad was going to come out because she had already deleted everything. That's what Debbie Wasserman Schultz, the DNC chairwoman at the time, was saying. So she did it for a reason. It was a decision that was made based on the pros and cons. Bucky's is Rome. Fun fact, if I'm suspected of a crime, the police, sheriff's department, state police, insert any federal agency. Pretty simple. Put me in handcuffs, book me to jail. And then I get to go before a judge to find out what's going on. But apparently Democrats don't get treated like me. And the reply won't treat them that way. Bummer. Republicans promised me arrests and retribution. Yeah, it's either if you're a Democrat or an illegal alien, you get premium America. You can do whatever you want in here. Like, no one cares. It's a premium version. It's like Ultra. America Ultra. It's interesting. John is here. Clipping this one. You know, that mind map makes it looks like Rob actually brought out his Sea Star, which is the telescope, because it kind of looks like we're looking at the stars. It does look like kind of like a galaxy. It is a beautiful galaxy of corruption. Thank you, John and Donut. Hey, Doan. Dusag Mark Phillip sent Epstein to Acosta, and in 3 months, Epstein walks. 9 months after that, Phillip goes to work for Kirkland Ellis, who represented Epstein. That's interesting. So I got to look that name up. That name's not ringing a bell, but we'll have to add that to the files. Don't. Thank you for that. Yeah, I don't think I have an Alex Acosta file built out yet, but I was doing searches on him this afternoon. E. Texley. My former congressman said that he and other congressmen sat down in the White House with George W. Bush, and after listening to their concerns, Bush booted Gonzalez from office. Interesting, yeah. Yeah, and Gonzalez was the torture memo guy. I think he caused a lot of damage to the White House, advocating for things that were advocated for in a way that was not helpful. Mock Schnell! What's up, Mock Schnell? Bringing in 20 new Membo friends. Thank you, Mock Schnell, for doing this. Look who's here. Texas Daughter, what's up? Programming is easy. We got Ron Quay, Silicon Player. Mark is here. Salty C, Sam Young. What's up, Lauren? Sista Otis, welcome. J. Ron Thunder, Jeff Larson, Phil, Daniel Sanchez. We got Juarez Playa, T. Hound Annihilator. What's up, Dan Lee, Joni Whelm, Steve Furman, Bartman, Priceless Mickey, and Muffin Rando in the house, courtesy of Mock Schnell, our friend. Thank you, Mock Schnell, for doing that. And welcome 20 new Membo friends. Uncle Bozy is here. Regarding the Epstein files, would the order in which the witnesses are deposed by Congress matter? Who should be deposed, first, second, etc.? Also, will these depositions be public or not? So I'm guessing not. So they're not hearings, so they're depots. So they'll be behind closed doors like the other ones. And I doubt that they'll release any of the transcripts sequentially, like maybe after they're all done. But you want to, when you're doing witness, interviews, you generally want to keep things separate and keep everybody in the dark, even when you're doing a trial. Like you see this with victims. Like there's, different states call them different things, like rules of victim preclusion. So like when you have one victim testifying in court, the other victims go out so they can't corroborate their stories, right? One victim can't hear another one testify because they'll match up. So yeah, I think it matters. Probably why they're saving Hillary for last, and Hillary and Bill for last. Go through the other AGs first and then hit them hard. Don't wonder if Comey will flip Weiner's laptop content. And yeah, there's a lot of Weiner laptop content, but I wonder. You mean flip, like release some of it or something? Oh my gosh, Uncle Bozy. Almost said what's going on with this one? Oh, Pelosi cleavage? I wonder if this babe was involved with Epstein. That photo is from her resume that she sent to American Eagle. All right, those are Nancy Pelosi jugs, and I don't want to traumatize you, but I'll be traumatized for you. Thank you, Uncle Bozy. Hey, and see, here's the bottom half of Nancy Pelosi. All right, what's up, Jerry G? Hillary is going to have another bout of amnesia. They all get amnesia. They're all these really smart lawyers who are super smart and can like lead America. Put them on a witness stand. Can't remember anything all of a sudden. I don't recall. I can't recall. 11 months. Thank you for being a member here, Jerry G, for 11 months. You're amazing. Almost one full anniversary to us. What's up, Charles Guptill? Good to have you, Charles. Welcome aboard as a supporter. Membo, stick around. We're going to have a members only stream here in just a minute. Bucky's is Rome. It's actually quite amazing. They won't go after Holder for smuggling guns to cartels that resulted in the death of American agents, Terry, or for him signing off on Obama arming groups in Syria that later became ISIS. But man, they're going all about for a dead dude on a case that isn't going anywhere. It's actually quite a thing to behold. Just wow. Stacy RN, what's up? Shout out to our nurses in the house. Thank you for becoming a supporter, and in Arizona too. Man, we love our nurses. What's up, James Skip? What's up, James? Hey, I think the Bondi memo was a feign. By the subpoena list coming from the White House, looks like the weaponization of the DOJ. In the hands of Congress, Trump's hands are clean. So you think that, in other words, Congress is responsible for the fallout, not Trump. If Trump's DOJ releases it, then they're responsible for the fallout. If Congress demands it, then they're responsible for the fallout. Interesting from James. Hey, this guy. Too old, am I? This old guy, what's going on, says, the fact that none of the lowlifes being subpoenaed by Comer are capable of periods of candor longer than 5 minutes is great. This is quite simply giving them another chance to commit perjury. It's true. False statements and conspiracy to defraud the United States. That's 15 years for each of them. They're going to look stunning in orange. Yeah, and one of the most common, this is such a great comment, this old guy. One of the most common questions that we get here is what should we charge these people with, right? What should the criminal statutes be? And we're getting that organized. So we've got law here. And do I have US code? Yeah. So what's cool about this is you can start saying, all right, like who's like responsible for obstruction? I don't have this like stuff filled out exactly right yet, but this is what we're working on. But so obstruction of justice, I can put the statutes in there, and then you can trace people who might be responsible for obstruction, right? Because you can link them back into each other. So like, for example, if we go over to Jake Sullivan's file here, and I'm still working on all of these, but like, I need a photo for Jake. Just put the photo in while you're looking it up, Rob. Like, why is there no photo? But here you can see in Jake Sullivan, we've got sections on analysis on whether you can prosecute these people with crimes. So for Jake Sullivan, for example, his 2017 testimony appears to contradict documentary evidence revealed in the Durham investigation. He and his sworn denials of knowledge seem like perjury, seem like false statements. And so you can kind of connect them all together, right? And then we can look at the statute and see who all in the conspiracy can be charged with RICO. I'm excited about it. All right, so this old guy. Exactly. Just let him lie again and hit him again. Hey, what's up? Joe says, what's your opinion on the Texas redistricting drama? Oh, we talked a little bit about that, I think yesterday and this morning. I'm for total aggression and total enforcement of the law by the party in power right now, right? I mean, the Democrats spent 4 years like arresting, rounding everybody up, censoring everybody, forcing you to get mandates and jabs and put all stuff in your body, all the things. Arresting fleeing Democrats and dragging them back into the Capitol to do their job. What is the consequence of that, really? I think that politically, even people would say, yeah, like make them come do their jobs. So I don't know what I don't know if there's a consequence to that politically. Like it might freak some people out, but I think generally speaking, people don't like politicians in general. So I think there's more sympathy, like from Joe Rogan. We talked about this morning. Joe Rogan says, why are they arresting people on the, corners of Home Depot? There's some sympathy for that, but you go arrest some Democrat who's not in Home Depot, but is on Pritzker's bosom. Well, then I think people have a lot less sympathy for them. So round them up. Hey, travel agent is here. What's up, travel agent? Says, I love all the stuff being uncovered, but so many times I get excited thinking the dirty Dems are going to be punished for their dirty ways. Then it all falls apart or just simply gets dropped. I am trying to contain my excitement. I really hope this plays out as it should. Yeah, the thing that's happening now is we're kind of catching it from both ends, where you are having Congress and the executive branch look into some of these things. So when you have that much energy, and the Democrats, like on this Epstein stuff, they're on for it. Like the Democrats voted also to subpoena Clinton, Bill and Hillary Clinton. That's kind of crazy. Hey, JLJ2. What tools built Watcher files? Would you do a walkthrough of how it was made? Super cool site. So interesting question, JL. I think maybe, yeah, actually. I mean, it's somebody else sent an email. Another friend sent an email saying, man, I'd love to like learn how you put that together. And I think it's actually a very useful tool. So the tool that I used is called obsidian.md, and it's pretty cool. Obsidian.md, this is what it looks like. Sharpen your thinking. Writing is telepathy, so you just organize all your stuff. It's pretty much free. It's great. It's a little complicated. It takes some, finagling to understand how to use it, but it's great. And then if you pay for it, so like you can buy the publishing thing. It's like $8 a month or whatever. So I bought it, and then you can just publish your notes. And so like, let me show you what my actual notes file looks like. So this is it. This is Obsidian on the back end. And so these are my notes. And so I can just, come in here, make changes. I definitely wish I had something like this for law school. You can do tags, so you can tag a bunch of things. You've got, tag features. You can search all your notes. It's cool. It's pretty cool. Obsidian.md, if you want to check it out. And then I'm using some deep research tools to write the report. So like I'm not writing all those reports. Honestly, the amount of output that I have been able to publish on that website in a few short days is crazy. It's like, I can't imagine how many people, like 5 years ago, it would take to generate what I was able to generate using AI tools. It's crazy. So the AI tools that I'm using, I've tested deep research on a bunch of different platforms, on Perplexity, on Claude, on ChatGPT, and on Gemini are the big ones. Grok doesn't have a good deep research yet, to my knowledge. So I tested those 4. ChatGPT is probably the worst of them. Perplexity is very good, very fast, but not very in-depth. Claude is very in-depth. Like their deep research will pull like 500 sources. A lot of the sources are difficult to get integrated into the deep research reports. So you have to basically get the AI to integrate the reports into you. So it takes some conversion. So basically what I've been doing for some of the big ones is running 3 reports. I'll run Perplexity, a Claude, and like a Gemini. Those are my favorite. ChatGPT errors out a lot. It's been pretty terrible. But the other ones are pretty good. And then I combined all of them, and then I put it in Claude, and I say, consolidate these, deduplicate it, and merge it, and link it according to my internal linking prompts. And then it links all the documents together. It's pretty cool. And if you really want to go to a whole nother level on this thing, look at the Google CLI, Google Gemini CLI tool. It's a terminal interface that allows you to interface with your MD files, and then it will help you keep things organized as well. So AI is wild. And with the tools, we can create just this massive, essentially opposition research file. And we're also talking about, even drafting some sample indictments, which would be fun. All right, so check it out, obsidian.md. Build some stuff, man. I'd love to see what you guys want to build, what you guys are building. And if you have any updates or if you have any feedback or any, things that we should look into to add to the files, let me know. What's up, Knox Bierman? Shared this one. Here is a Substack. Breaking something about the jabs. Oh my gosh. From Jeffrey Jackson. Knox, thank you for that. Looks like a good article. Mom CEO, what's up? President Trump called Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer and Democrats crazed lunatics after accusing the chamber of demanding $2 billion in exchange for confirming his nominees. Isn't this extortion or bribery? Good to see you, Mom CEO. We talked a little bit about that this morning, actually. We talked about the redistricting and the judges and the nominees. Chuck Grassley blocking some of Trump's nominees. And so we talked about that this morning. But no, I think Chuck Schumer would just say it's just politics. It's just negotiation. It's not bribery because he's a senator. What's up, Coffee Warrior Princess? Great to see you, Coffee Warrior Princess. Thank you for supporting us. Thanks for becoming a membo. And we'll see it. James Baker isn't in the Watcher files. He was in the government and went over to Twitter before Elon purchased it. Yeah, I think that's right. I think that is right. He's not in there yet. I should have a page for him, I think. And what's cool about this is the search is just wild too. So yeah, James Baker. Yeah, there's James Baker. He's right there. I did do James. Look at that. So there's James Baker right there. So you just got to search for it. Opposition research. I don't have an image for him. But yeah, I looked him up. He was the other half of the Michael Sussman dude. So check him out over there. Just search for Baker, James Baker. All right. So thank you for that one, Rob. Trinal Galaxy. This is your equivalent to the fat electrician's 3-ring binder of school district corruption. And I love it. Good to see you, Trinal Galaxy. The fat electrician as a 3-ring binder of school district corruption. That sounds awesome. Man, we love binders full of corruption. It's great. What's up, Rick D? Thank you for the heads up, Trinal. Rick D, hey, good weather this afternoon. Rick D sent this super chat in from a 40,000 feet. He said, I don't know how high he goes, but hey, 4 more jumps. I'm determined to make the next 1,000 before the end of the year. Just crazy. That's multiple jumps a day, right? Because if you want to get 1,000, absolutely nuts. Rick D, flying out of airplanes, sending in chats. Thank you for that, Rick D. We're glad you're out there flying through the skies, my man. We got this one from @ Welcome, @ We appreciate you. Glad to have you here. And Timothy McNulty also coming in as a supporter. Great to have you. Okay, so new membos. We're going to do a members only after party. Debrief, take some locals comments. See what else you have to say about all of this before we wrap it up on the day. We'll also take some X comments. See if we got anybody watching over there today. What's up, Pro One Bro? Good to see you. Pro One Bro over there is the one bro watching over on X. Great to see you on X. All right, so my friends, we will leave it there on the day. It has been a beautiful stream, covered some good stuff today. It's going to be a great week ahead. We'll see if we get reaction to these subpoenas or what happens tomorrow. But we'll pause here for the evening. Before we wrap it up on the day, we want to thank our amazing mods and meme smiths. Thank you for helping mod the fort down for us, keeping things nice and orderly. John, Donut, Carrie B, K-Bean in the house. We got Neuro D, Dog Digger, Janek over on the Rumbles, Elliot, Just Rhonda, and Jigam memeing the place down for us. We're grateful for everybody who makes the show amazing, and we appreciate you. Thank you for subscribing to our channel if you haven't already done so. Luis Holly is bringing in Phone HQ, Ops Coles, Chris L, Mr. Stephen VC, and Mary Ho, all gifted membos, courtesy of Luis Holly. Thank you, Luis Holly, for doing that. 5 new friends. We'll see you. Luis is also a membo. So we're going to have our members only after party. YouTube friends, in about a minute, hit the refresh button on the main channel homepage. I'll also drop a link in the chat. And locals friends, just hang tight because we're going to get back here and get into some after party business. And we'd love to have you join us. Come on, join us. Otherwise, my friends, We're going to leave it here on the evening. And of course, we're coming back tomorrow to get into it again. And in order to do that appropriately, we are going to need to see you right back here so that together with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, my friends. Sleep very well. I'll see you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching, my beautiful friends. Now it's that time where the stream must end. You brought the heat with every chatting line. Together we expose corruption. One more time we dove in the truth where the media hides. Lit up the lies with receipts on all sides. The fight isn't over, but we made them sweat. We ain't done yet, no, not just yet. Because together we